WalletHub rated this Dallas, Texas suburb as the #1 place to buy a home, and if I'm being honest, I think it's completely wrong. Rarely are the financials of buying a home the actual reason that we end up somewhere. If that was the case, we'd end up in the middle of nowhere and find the cheapest home available. People buy the lifestyle of the area that they get to live in. Now, obviously they use financials as kind of a filter. You're not gonna live somewhere that you can't afford, but you're not necessarily going to live in the cheapest place either. And while the lifestyle that this particular suburb offers is perfect for a lot of people, it's definitely not gonna be a great fit for many as well. It would be a horrible decision for a ton of people out there. So is this Dallas, Texas suburb a good fit for you or not? Well, we're gonna find out right now because we're gonna go through all the cons about living in this Dallas, Texas suburb. And this suburb is McKinney, Texas. Now, McKinney, Texas is in the very far north suburbs of Dallas, Texas, and it's pretty far out there. It's not the most convenient access to Dallas, Texas. And because it's far out there and it's in the suburbs of Dallas, you are not gonna have a lot of public transportation. So if you are somebody that is going to be reliant on public transportation, then this suburb of Dallas, Texas is not going to be a good fit for you. There's literally zero public transportation in McKinney, Texas. There are a few special programs if you qualify that will shuttle you around the metro area, but generally speaking, you just don't generally have a lot of access to public transportation in the suburbs of Dallas altogether, but specifically in McKinney. Now, McKinney does have an airport, but right now it's just mostly private. They do have plans of possibly converting that into a more commercial airline as well, but that is not gonna be anytime soon. So that's something you're gonna have to consider if you're considering a potential move to McKinney, Texas. Okay, so moving on to the next, and that is if you are looking for the absolute safest suburb to live in the entire DFW metro, then you may need to reconsider moving to McKinney, Texas. Now, according to niche.com, McKinney was actually rated C+ for its crime and safety, but is that actually legitimate? Let's find out. So over 108 people responded to a poll by niche.com on how safe they felt in the area. 52% of people said pretty safe, but there are some safety concerns, but generally you feel safe. 46% said very safe, there are no safety concerns, and then 2% said somewhat safe. There are noticeable safety concerns and there are times I don't feel safe. So according to the residents, most actually feel it's pretty safe. Now, another thing that was polled is how effective is law enforcement in this area? And over 69% of people said the police are very visible and very responsive, which is a very promising thing. And in general, if you look at the actual crime statistics of McKinney compared to the national averages, the crime rates are actually still very low compared to the national average. For example, if you look at assaults, McKinney experiences about 77 per 100,000 residents, whereas nationally that number is about 282. Or if you're looking at robberies, it's about 11.5 compared to nationally at 135.5. So compared to the national averages, McKinney is still safe. But relatively speaking, niche.com apparently thinks that it is a C+ compared to some of the other suburbs in the area. So if you're looking for peace of mind and you just want to move to whatever niche.com says is the safest place, McKinney may not be the best fit for you. But according to the residents, that may not necessarily be so true. Okay, so if you're the kind of person that wants to be in an A-rated school no matter what, you want the absolute best schools and you're not willing to sacrifice at all, then McKinney may not be the best fit for you. The Texas Education Authority actually releases a report, a scorecard for each school, and you can actually find that just going to their website and searching the different school district. And the McKinney School District actually got a B rating. And that's actually very good still. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And personally, don't think that's really a reason that you shouldn't buy McKinney. But for some people, having an A-rated school is absolutely necessary, and you're just not gonna find McKinney to be an A-rated school district right now. But obviously that could change and is likely to change in the future. All right, if you desire a place with low property taxes, then McKinney, Texas may not be a good fit for you. And honestly, it's not just McKinney, it's kind of the entire DFW metro. Property taxes are absolutely crazy in this area. Now, McKinney itself, if you're living in McKinney proper, you're not living in a special taxing district, you know, it's not terrible compared to some of the other suburbs around. You know, you're gonna be hovering about a 1.78% property tax rate. But there are areas in McKinney, specifically if you're gonna go into some of the new construction neighborhoods, for example, you're gonna climb quite a bit. Those different neighborhoods typically have what's called a MUD or a PID, which is just a special taxing district. And those typically crank the rates up pretty good. a lot of times above the 2% range. So if you're looking for a really good property tax rate, I mean, in general, DFW just may not be a good fit for you. You may have to look a little bit further out. But the other thing to consider is that you do not have state income tax as well here in Texas. That may help make up the increase of property taxes. Now, the other thing is that if you are wanting to live really close to the DFW International Airport, then McKinney is just not going to be a good fit for you. McKinney is located about 35 miles northeast of the DFW International Airport. It's going to take you about 45 minutes to get there anytime. So, you know, you are not necessarily going to be super close. You're also not super far away. You know, if you're only going to be, you know, using the airport to go on vacations, that 45 minutes is pretty doable a few times a year. But if you're gonna have family in town all the time, if you're gonna be, you know, gonna have to travel for work every single week, then that 45-minute commute might get old for you. And so McKinney just may not be a good fit if you're gonna use that airport all the time. And on the kind of same theme of commuting, if you want a really easy commute to downtown Dallas, then McKinney is just not gonna be a good fit for you. When you live in McKinney, you're kind of forced into using 75, and 75 takes you south into downtown Dallas. And it's just not a great road from my perspective. I don't like being on it. It's stop and go. There's always some sort of crash there. And when you're going from McKinney, the very north side of McKinney, into downtown Dallas, you could get down there as fast as 45 minutes if there's no traffic. But generally speaking, you're gonna be in that 45-minute range to sometimes as much as over an hour for your commute. And so if you're doing that every day, that's gonna get a little bit old. But maybe it's not. Maybe you're okay with that. Maybe it's reducing still the amount of time spent commuting compared to where you are right now. But for me personally, I would really struggle spending over an hour in traffic every single day to get downtown into Dallas. So it just may not be a good fit for you if you're looking for that easy, convenient commute. Now, the other thing is that if you are looking for an abundance of shopping and entertainment and abundance of just things to do in your city, then McKinney may not be a good fit for you. I'm gonna be completely honest with you on this one. In McKinney, pretty much the only cool thing from my perspective and something that's actually worth doing is going downtown McKinney. Downtown McKinney is one of my favorite places to go. It's a beautiful, historic downtown, tons of great things to do in there, tons of great places to eat. You have some cool boutiques there. You have like a theater. You can get to events down there quite a bit. They put on a lot of events in downtown McKinney. So there's a lot to love about downtown McKinney, but having that kind of be your sole source of entertainment in McKinney, it could be overwhelming for you. It could be a little bit boring for you, I guess, in some ways. And so if you're looking for that abundance, you're just not gonna find that in McKinney. You know, McKinney does have some shopping along 75, for example, or along 380. You have some more standalone restaurants. They're just not the most, you know, you're gonna find mostly chains and that kind of stuff. You're gonna have to get outside of McKinney if you want that more unique experience. You wanna get to some of these nicer high-end places, these town centers or shopping malls and all that kind of stuff. You're gonna have to get out of McKinney to have more options for that kind of thing. So what's cool about that is that just south of McKinney in Allen and Fairview, you know, that's one of the best places for shopping and entertainment. So you're probably 10 to 15 minutes away from that, but you're not gonna find it in the bounds of McKinney specifically. So we're about to get to the next point, but first, please like this video if you're finding some sort of value with it, because that allows us to find the other people out there in the world that need to see this video. So I really appreciate you hitting that like button. Let's get into that next point. All right, so if you are looking for warmer weather year-round, or maybe you're just looking for milder climate in general, McKinney, Texas may not be a good fit for you. And actually, it's not just McKinney, it's the DFW metro as a whole. A lot of people think of Dallas, Texas, and they think that it is just gonna be hot year-round. And that's just not the case. We have little stretches of heat, you know, in that July, August, September range where it is very hot. But the rest of the year can get kind of cold. You know, in the spring and the fall, you're probably gonna be in the 70s and 80s, maybe even getting down to the 60s. And then in the winter, you're gonna have some days that are in the 60s and 50s, but a lot of days are gonna drop down into the 40s and 30s. And you're gonna have several days in that winter period where you're gonna get close to 0 degrees. We just got through a little stint of cold where it got down to 10 degrees. So you're gonna have some, you know, variation in weather here. And if you're just looking for that kind of mild, really steady climate, you know, the DFW metro is just not gonna be a good fit for you. Now, compared to where I grew up in Iowa and where I lived before I moved in Dallas, which was Denver, Colorado, You know, this weather is amazing. It feels a little bit more mild to me, and I can be outside pretty much year round because I'm used to really cold weather. But for some people that are moving from warmer climates, this is not necessarily the warm climate destination that they would want to be in. So if you're looking for that year-round warm weather destination, the DFW Metro just may not be a good fit for you. And maybe you are looking for affordable new construction options. Well, if that sounds like you, McKinney, Texas may not be a good fit for you. Now, McKinney, Texas actually has quite a bit of new construction options and some really cool neighborhoods, but having affordable options under $400,000 just doesn't really happen very often in McKinney. As of right now, there are only 2 neighborhoods that actually have some homes that are listed right below $400,000, but realistically, after all the upgrades and things, you're gonna be above $400,000. You really need to be above that price point if you're gonna build a new construction home in McKinney, Texas. So that just may not be the best fit for you depending on what your budget is. But thankfully, there are a ton of options in the DFW Metro. If you're looking to buy new construction or even just a resale home in that $400,000 range and below, or maybe you're even above that price range and you just wanna buy the coolest house in the coolest neighborhood for $1 million. Wherever you are, we need to make sure we find the right neighborhood for you. So reach out to me. I'm gonna ask you a few questions, try to get to know you and what your interests are and what that perfect neighborhood is for you. And I'll help match you with ultimately the best place to buy a home here in the DFW Metro. Reach out to me and my team anytime. We'd be honored to help you. And until next time, I will see you later.